Hey, what's going on? I'm gonna do a video about natural law. Natural law is the idea that nature should be a guide about what's right and wrong, right? And I think a lot of Christians don't think this is such a bad idea. And I think they use the idea of general revelation and special revelation to think nature declares God, so there's something about God in nature, right? So we can use parts of nature to explain God's holiness, right? But we gotta be careful when you talk about natural law, because um, we can't use natural law to define what is holy and what is not holy, right? So if you look at a lot of libertarians, they reject the Bible. So the Bible's fine for what it is, but it doesn't doesn't apply today because it's out of date. It doesn't make any sense. They say you got to start with something that has a more basis than scripture, right? So they start with nature, causality, and that kind of stuff, and then they get to the end. Well, at the end you get to the Kantian Platonic God, but in the meantime, politically, you get to the idea that nature is something that you can use as a moral standard, right? That's a major error because right now a lot of people are trying to use the natural law to say being a homosexual isn't so bad. Sometimes animals are homosexuals, right? Or that kind of thing, right? This is Joe Rogan is, there's animals, there's birds that are homosexual, or they find some sort of animal in some sort of place that is homosexual or lesbian or whatever, and then they say, well, that's natural. Nature, animals do it, right? Because and from their world point of view, man is just a highly evolved animal, right? So this is why your cosmology, your worldview affects your political stuff, right? So that's a complete error because if you start using nature as basis, then there's nothing wrong with crime, right? That's an example. Crime. Stealing something is not morally wrong in the nature, right? Actually, is something good to do. Like if you're in nature and you're like a bear and you're dying and another animal kills something, the smart thing to do is run up and steal it, right? Naturally, there is no morality in the natural law, right? So there's also nothing that's going to stop you from raping anybody. Like with rape, what is rape? Rape is smart. You spreading your seed farther, right? Or or pedophilia, animals. When they don't have another option, sometimes they'll end up having offspring with their own family, right? Like it's weird, causes genetical problems, but they don't have there's no moral authority in nature, right? So if we're using this as a basis, you're just gonna end up in this crazy, there is no morality, right? So um we cannot, be careful when you're using nature. If you're starting with nature to try to prove God, you're gonna end up at some pretty crazy places politically, spiritually, right? So you got to start with the standard. The standard is God, all right? And explain nature using God. Nature declares an all-powerful, all-knowing, triune God. But you can't start with nature to try to prove God. You got to start with God and to try to prove nature. All right? Special revelation is necessary to understand correctly the general revelation, right? And if you're not an elected person and all you have is this nature and general revelation, then it shouldn't be surprising that you descend into chaos where you rape, murder, kill, sacrifice things to idols, cannibalism, pedophilia. All that stuff's going to happen because you know there's a God. Like even if you start with nature and you start with your own thought capacity, you will reach a point where you realize there is a God and he's not you. But you won't have the special revelation to understand nature, you, or any of it. You'll get to where people are right now. They said if there is a God, like Nietzsche, like I can't be a God because if there was a God and he's not me, I would hate him, right? So that's where we're at right now. So be careful. Nature, natural law is not where you should be starting in debate people or trying to justify actions or any of that because you're starting on the wrong foot. So be careful. God is a standard, not nature. You got to be starting with where you got to start where everything starts, and it starts with God. All right. We can't base anything on natural law. Okay, God is the standard. And to understand natural law, you have to start with God to understand it. Natural law is kind of, you got to think about it, but I think it's right. God's law. God is God, not nature. All right. Joe Rogan trying to justify gay people using the nature, starting off wrong. That's why he's coming to a wrong conclusion. You got to start at the right point to get the right conclusion. Start with a wrong starting point, all of your answers are going to be wrong. You're holding up a ruler that's broken and you're starting, all the measurements are going to be wrong. Okay? Natural law. Okay. Think about it.